it's Judy Turner with Domicil Design and Centurion Roman Shade. I'm going to demonstrate and show how to make a flat Roman shade using the Centurion Roman Shade widget kits. For this project, we're going to make a shade that is 24 inches wide by 45 inches long. And these are the supplies that you'll need to follow along and make your own shade. You're going to need a 3-cord widget kit. You know that this one is a 3-cord when it comes because it has a number 3 right here. These are QR codes that will also link to video instructions and documents to help you make the shade on your own. Inside the kit are all the things you need to make a Roman shade, with the exception of these items that you'll provide. So you will need 2 yards of face fabric. It can be your choice of color, pattern, and material. You're also going to need 1.5 yards of lining fabric. You'll also need a mounting board. We like to use a wood mounting board, and a 1x2 is the minimum depth that you're going to need to mount the widget. The widget will mount under here, and it'll perfectly fit on a 1x2 board, which finishes out at 1.5 inches. So this is considered a 1x2. This is just common wood pine, and we're going to cut it down to the width that we need. You're also going to need a flat steel rod. We recommend steel because then we know that there's enough weight on the bottom to keep the shade down when it's in the full position or anywhere in between as you pull it. This one is 3/4 of an inch wide. It's 1/8 of an inch thick, and it comes in 3 or 4 feet lengths at your local hardware store. We like to get them as we need to make our shades, and we'll cut it down to size when we get there. So other things that you're going to find helpful to make your shade will be scissors, a long ruler, a pencil, an iron, needle and thread and pins, some white glue, and a stapler. You can either use a handheld stapler like this with staples, or a pneumatic stapler. Either one is quick and efficient way to mount your shade to the wood mounting board. So a question that we get asked very often is, how many cords do I need to make my shade? And we provide a guideline, 10 inches spacing per vertical lift. So that would be 10 inches in between every vertical lift on your shade. The widget itself is under tension once you pull the pin at the finish, and it will coil as you raise and lower the shade. You're pulling it down and you're going to be pushing it up. The widget is going to take up the excess cord. It's a child-safe shade product. We provide a ladder tape, and so combined with the ladder tape, it complies with the current child safety laws for Roman shades. So the widget itself is going to coil the cord. And if you're wondering how many vertical rows do I need in my shade, that's a question that's hard for us to answer, even if you tell us the size and the width of your shade. Because what we don't know is what type of fabric you're using and whether or not you're going to put any structure into your shade. So we recommend vertical cords every 10 inches, but if you engineer and design your shade with structure, you can go wider with the vertical lift cords. So by that, I can show you that this is the sample that we're going to be making. And so when I raise and lower it, everything is straight and the folds are straight. You don't really see a big dip in between the lift cords. The lift cords on this shade are at the ends, about an inch and a half in from the end, and then this one just has one in the center. The spacing in between is about 10.5 inches on this shade. And that works pretty well. I've used a nap sateen lining and a fabric that has a linen component to it. So it trains well in the folds and it adheres and it kind of sticks very well to the nap sateen, flannel back nap sateen lining that I'm using. So I know that 10.5 inches works well, but you could have fabrics that need, maybe it's sheer, and 10.5 inches, when you pinch up between 10, you might see a swoop in between. So unless you add ribs or some kind of structure in there, then you may need to do your vertical cords a little bit closer, which will mean that you'll need to have more cords for the width of your shade. So we also recommend that you can combine, if you need 6 cords, you can do 2 3-chord widgets. And you could also combine 2 4-chord widgets to give you 8 cords for vertical lift. We don't really recommend using a 2-chord and a 3-chord widget. We can talk you through doing it, but it's really better if you're on the edge with needing a 5-chord. I would recommend that you really think about using ribs, either in the folds or attached at the tack points or both. And then you can go down to a 4-chord, which will be much more successful. So that's a little bit about choosing which widget kit to use. And for this project, we will be using the 3. So order that and let's get started.